There are luxury cars, there are sporty cars, there are grand tourers. Some cars blur the lines between all of that, and one of the best to do that for a very long time has always been the Mercedes S-Class. This here's the 2025 Mercedes S63 Performance, and I have to say, what it can do is unbelievable. All right, this thing is wild. We'll get into the performance and powertrain and all that stuff in a second. On the outside, pretty standard S-Class. Very handsome, sharp-looking, full-size sedan, large sedan, luxury sedan. This China blue paint is excellent. I'm normally not a black wheels guy, but it works pretty well against the lightness of the paint. Just a good-looking vehicle. Inside and out here. Inside, I wouldn't spec it this way. This is white leather, which is just insane, especially when I have a 9-year-old daughter. But the level of comfort is very high. These seats are just fantastic. Back seats are even better. They've got more pillowy style headrests. That right rear can do like a leg recline. The seat goes up. There's a little Samsung Galaxy powered tablet back there to control ambient lighting and the comfort level and the audio system and tons of stuff. I think there's an executive package that even ramps this up another notch with like jet style fold down tables and it goes a little crazy. But the interior is great. The Burmester sound system sounds fantastic, as you would expect. Just very, very lovely place to be. Now, it's also an incredibly quick and powerful place to be. This thing isn't a wolf in sheep's clothing. This is like Godzilla in Gucci clothing. The power numbers on this are wild. It's a plug-in hybrid. There's a 4-liter twin turbocharged V8 up front, then you have an electric motor. The horsepower number altogether, on its own, the engine's like 603 horsepower, which is a great number. On it together, combined, Captain Planet it, 797 horsepower and 1,055 pound-feet of torque. This puts Ford Super Duties to shame. They should give this a tow rating. The frame probably wouldn't handle it, but who knows? It's a Mercedes, maybe it would. It's got some like Unimog heritage in there or something. Unreal power. The powers that be that test the numbers, we don't do instrumented testing here. I think Car and Driver got a 0 to 60 time of like 2.6 on this car, which is unfathomable for a vehicle that weighs 5,700 pounds. We were all too busy making fun of the M5, which granted, the 5 is a class below the S, it's 7 versus S. But this weighs more than an M5, but also makes more power, and I think is quicker. I think this is quicker than a BMW M5. And it's nicer inside. Not that the M5 is bad inside, but this is a level up, Wild stuff. Now, it also seems to drive pretty darn nicely out here when I've pushed it a little bit in the canyons. Big, beefy tires, nice wide wheels, plenty of brake underneath the car. Every now and then though, when you first get into it, I feel like there's a little bit of regen, and then it's almost like when you see a race car driver check to make sure they're knocking the pads back, which is what you see sometimes when you're like, why is the race car driver tapping the brakes right then? He's just making sure the pads are there basically. Sometimes I feel like I need to give it a little more press, and then the next and repeated times I go to use the brakes, it's flawless, it's excellent. So I don't know what that is. Maybe it's just the car's in regen mode for a second. I wake it up, it goes, oh no, hydraulic brakes are where it's at. The steering feel is nice. It's all adjustable too with all the different drive modes. I like putting it individual to back the suspension down a little bit, but just driving it in normal, it's very nice because that you access the hybrid mode, you get usable electric range, which is always a nice feature, especially in a car like this. A big luxurious boat of a car in EV mode is wonderful. When it's just pure EV though, because it's so heavy, that's when you realize I could use the throttle response of the combined efforts of both powertrains working together, because then it's a little slow leaving the line. But When it's just working normally, when it's not just one or the other, though, the gas engine is fine. But when it's full hybrid punch, hold on, there we go. Unreal. One of my friends in the industry, Ezra Dyer, tried to get one of these into the 10s on a drag strip and managed an 11.1 just stock out of the box, which is crazy. So, and he says he thinks 10s are possible in this car, which is just unreal. It looks fantastic. It goes like hell. It's supremely comfortable inside. This is everything you want an S-Class to be, and you are gonna pay for it. As tested, this is like $192. You know, it has a few options. I'll put the base price up on screen because I forget it, because every time I step on the throttle pedal, my brains are fucking scrambled into my butthole. Oh my God, brutal. But like I said, it handles surprisingly well. Of course, it has standard rear axle steering, so like low speed maneuverability is excellent, which is always nice in a car this long. High speed maneuverability is there too. This is, if they had to remake the movie Ronin, they would use one of these. You know, as great as the original S8 storyline was in that movie, this thing is just a brutalist, beautiful monster of a car. I've always been a Mercedes fan, and this helps to confirm my fanboyness that I get when you get into these AMG vehicles. You know, occasionally you can have your issues with it. We've driven the C63, you got my thoughts on that. I don't think it's as hated as, it shouldn't be as hated as everybody says it is, but I also get it. This powertrain in that car would be just next level godlike. So maybe that, they'll probably give it a 6 though before they give it back to an 8. Though, man, if they could make this powertrain fit in that car, it would literally leave the earth. It would take off like a glorious rocket ship from a Falterbach, and we'd all be happy. But I am happy because this thing exists, and it is fucking awesome.